So in the beginning, there is a customer, and at the end, there is a sale. You may have heard me mention this before, but I believe that it starts with a suspect. The suspect becomes a prospect. The prospect becomes a customer. So let me make sure that we understand. A customer is a human being with feelings and money to spend with you. A consumer is a statistic. And as importantly, once we have a customer, our goal is to get them to do repeat business with us, in which case they become a client. So again, we go from suspect to prospect, prospect to customer, customer to client. Customer is the statistic, and you need to know the difference. A quick look at people that we work with range from Fortune 100 companies to VC companies, startups, major divisions, etc. We do business in automotive, in gaming, in health and beauty aid, in software, in consumer packaged goods, even in the cremation industry and the Department of Defense. So I have a wide range of customers that hopefully become clients in the long term, but they all share equal billing, equal goals, and equal problems that they have hired me to help solve. And that's why I'm able to share with you some of these tips, tricks, and guidelines that you may be able to use in your own business. Because no matter what job you have in life, no matter what you're going to do to determine your success, only 5% are your academic credentials. 15% is your professional experience. And 80% is your communication skills. So today, we're going to focus on the communication skills and other ways that you're able to justify, monetize, and obviously utilize in dealing with your customers. When you start to look at how we do business, then we start to understand that it's important that the nature of your prospect also understands the nature of your product. Let me repeat that. We start with suspects. Suspects are anybody in the world, anybody at a networking event, anybody in the marketplace that may, you think, need your product or services. Once they've expressed an interest in having a meeting, they become a prospect. It doesn't do you much good to have prospects that are tire kickers, are trying to get a lot of free information from you. So your job is to ask enough questions that the prospect needs more answers. And I often make those questions very, very concentric on them, not on me, not on the product. What keeps you awake at night? What's happening in your marketplace? What are you doing to maintain your price structure? Remember, lowering prices does not get you long-term clients. They may get you short-term customers, but if they have bought based on the lowest price, the next person that has a price lower than yours will be the person that they do business with. So you may want to take a screenshot of this when we're done, and I will leave it up for you, but I call it the 4 ahas of yes. So stage one. Stage one is, do you have a growth mindset? And can you take that growth mindset and deliver it to your prospect or customer so that they see the value in doing business with you? Stage two is, do you know what triggers your fixed mindset? The story of one size fits all is really, you can't be everything to everybody. So you focus on those customers, those prospects, those suspects, working backwards, that can benefit from your wisdom. Not your product, not your service, but your wisdom. People use products. They pay for wisdom. Very important. A product is really only valuable in the product of the product to the customer. If you do not have a product which is a solution to their problem, then no matter how good your product is, they may not do business with you. And stage 3 is, do you view failures as a learning opportunity? Look, we all make mistakes, we all fail, but do we learn from them? I've often told my staff, you can fail once at anything, but if you continually fail at doing the same thing, we've got a problem, we've got a concern. And either we fix it, or we're going to have to find someone that doesn't have the same problem, and in that case, you may not be working here any longer. It's the real world, folks. If they can't deliver, you're not running a charitable organization or a hobby. You've got to cut them loose. And then the next stage is really the one that I talk about, value of progress and not perfection. Let me explain. If you are constantly getting asked by more people within the organization for your help, that's progress. If you're concerned about delivering everything perfectly, everything done absolutely to the final nth degree, that may be taking you away from getting other business. I'm certainly not suggesting you deliver a substandard product, far from it. But I've often seen people micro-massage what the customer has accepted and try to get them to upsell or buy more for the same solution. If you're going to try to upsell or supersize, you need to do it in that selling process. So take a screenshot of these 4 ahas, make notes to yourself, use this often, and ask yourself these 4 questions. Now there's magic here. The magic is you use these same 4 questions for your prospect or your customer. These are open-ended questions that often lead to some interesting answers and amazing conversations. Value the progress that you're making, and they will value the wisdom that you're bringing to them. So here's my qualifying yes questions. First of all, to my customer, my prospect, what's most important to you? Now, what's most important to you may not be what's most important to you, meaning you and not your customer. The question isn't what's most important to me. The question is you asking your prospect or customer what's most important to you. And when they answer that question, your next comment is, what's most important about that? Let them talk. Let them think about it. Let them ponder the ramifications. And then you come in and repeat it. And you say, to make sure I understand what you've said, may I repeat what's most important to you and what's most important about that? And let them confirm it. And often when they confirm it, it starts to magnify what's important and why it's important. And once they've done that, you've gotten them to the point where you could ask this question: what would that be worth if we could solve number 1 and number 2? Can we monetize that? Is there a dollar value that you could put on what's most important to you and what's most important about that? Notice I haven't sold anything. I haven't suggested anything. I'm asking them. I go to a dentist that says we cater to cowards. He says, what's most important to you? I don't want it to hurt. Number 2, I don't want to hear the drill. I don't want to smell anything I don't have to. I don't want to see anything that's going on. And he will often say, if I can accomplish that, would you be willing to pay for the topical, the numbing, the music piped in? And the answer is always yes. Because what's most important to me is I don't want it to hurt. I have a low threshold of pain when it comes to a dentist. That threshold is there for every single customer you do business with. There is a dollar amount. Do not suggest that you know what it is. Let them tell you. And it gives you a point of discussion. Once you start to see that, you're able to move forward and able to see that there are steps to what you can and can't do. And I call them the 20 steps to getting from yes. And I'm going to give you in small bites. And the reason that they're in small bites is because it's a lot to digest at one time. So the first thing and the second thing is assess responsiveness and implement it at all levels. Meaning, what does their response need and who do you have to deal with so that that responsiveness starts to move forward in solving the problem within their organization? Stop it and tell your story about how you have been able to help another client who had a similar problem. Now remember, every customer believes that their problem is unique. Their industry is unique. And that you can't take what you know and apply it unless you know their industry. And that's wrong. Problems are problems, solutions are solutions, the rest is a modification. My dear friend Harry Blackstone, the foremost America's magician, often said to me, Jim, there's only 10 magic tricks in the world. Everything else is a permutation, a diversion, or something that makes it look different, but it's really the same. The same thing happens in our business. In our business, we're basically saying, what are we going to do to reach that next point in time where our customer is willing to tell us what they will offer, and you can tell them the least that you will accept. That is very, very important. And the reason for that is if you cannot reach the dollar value on both sides, that is what it's worth to you as well as what it's worth to them, then at the end of the day, you aren't able to move forward and understand what's happening. Think about what is going on and don't back off. Don't back off in any way, shape, or form from your price point, which means you've got to know when to say no as well as saying yes. So there's a filtering process that I use. You start with your expertise, who you are, why they should believe in who you are and what you do. Create a power pitch. People call it an elevator pitch. I call it a power pitch. Something that you can say quickly and easily to tell them what you do in terms of their benefits. And then you refine the content with your presentation skills, your PowerPoint, your brochure, whatever it is that you're going to use to present to your prospect or your customer. And then you monetize their results and at the same time monetize your results. Now, I'm a firm believer in not filling out RFPs. RFP, which is a request for proposal, is always looking for the low-cost provider. Why do I want to dumb down my prices when I don't know what the value proposition is, what wisdom I can bring to them, and how we can monetize the results? Think about this filtering process as you move through the steps to get to a yes. Now, I know there's going to be resistance, expect it. The other problem is when you get resistance, don't oversell what you're offering. Don't overpromise, don't oversell. but always explain the rationale for your solution. And then that justifies the price value relationship of what you're offering. And make them challenge your metrics. Because if they challenge it and you can support it and you can defend it, they're willing to pay for it. And you'll hear me say this over and over if you've listened to any of my other webinars or blogs or podcasts. I talk about WOOFM. What's in it for me? And the me is always them. You look at them and say, what's in it for them? They're looking at you and saying, what's in it for me? Understand that premise, deliver that solution, and they'll pay for it. Now, it may sound complicated when I say there's 20 steps, etc. I'm going to break it down to 5 simple things, but the 20 steps take you in the micro steps. This is the major steps. Number 1, define the solution up front. To define the solution, you got to define the problem. Don't start defining the solution before you totally understand the problem and you have done question 1, question 2 from before. What's important? Why is that important? Then determine how you're going to measure the results. You and your customer now, it's no longer a prospect, your customer, have got to agree on the measurability. If it's going to get done, it has to be measurable. My comment always is, if it's measurable, it's doable. If it's doable, it should be measurable. If it's not measurable, it's not doable. And then you analyze the change in the metrics that take place. So in other words, are the results going to have a domino effect? Are they going to catapult themselves through the organization? Are they going to have a ripple effect in the organization? Because every time you have that rock thrown into the pond, the ripple effect changes the metrics of what's going on. And the metrics of what's going on also improve the results so that you can control the conversation. By controlling the conversation, you can circle back again. Now look at the design of this for a moment. What's it look like today? If you've got any kids, it's the fidget. It's the fidget that defines, measures, analyzes, improves, and controls conversations that lead to yes. Let me go back to the smaller baby steps. Identify your options. Identify whether or not you have to bring in additional resources. Identify the timetable. Identify what they have to do within their own organization. Create an ally prior to the meeting, and that ally is perhaps somebody in another department, a competitor, someone who can testify and document the wisdom that you possess. And once you're able to do that, you make it a shared solution. You don't need to take the credit. You just need to take home the check. And here you must remember, don't deal with gatekeepers. Only deal with decision makers. And point out how you're going to help them. Once again, you can kind of see the cyclical nature of what we're talking about. Tell me what your problem is. Tell me why that's a problem. Tell me what that's worth to you to solve the problem. Tell me what you're going to bring to bear in the way of your resources. Tell me what you expect me to bring it in to help share in the ultimate solution. And when you walk down the path together, you end up sharing the credit and you get paid for your wisdom. Now there's 3 intersecting, overlapping circles. Number 1, you should target and narrow your niche. When I say narrow your niche, I do not mean bright-eyed ophthalmologist. I'm saying sales is a niche. Now, you could argue that sales in real estate and sales in automotive are different, but I will argue they're not. You have a product, you have a buyer, you have a distribution channel. You want your story. How have you done this before? How have you been able to mount these resources to get from point A to point B successfully? And what are you going to share with them from your wisdom toolbox that your key learning insight will bring to them in helping them to solve the problem? And in all cases, what are you naturally good at? If this is a financial institution like a bank and you're not good with numbers, perhaps the bank is not your primary target audience. On the other hand, numbers, spreadsheets, P&L sheets, balance sheets are part of every single business. So if you're not good with numbers and you want to do work in the business community, you better start to learn how to read them. Circles of yes are people that feel comfortable with your wisdom and are willing to pay for that wisdom and knowledge application because you brought them a bright idea. Get the resistance out in the open. Outpace the resistors within the organization or your organization, because they're always the naysayers. Oh, we've done it before. Oh, we can't do it. Oh, we don't have the money. We don't have the resources. Listen, if you believe all of that, then you're wasting your time trying to get the yes. You've got to believe that you can overcome that. And you explain what the know-how is needed. Remember, we've already talked about this, but you're circling back. You know, it's like hiring somebody to do work in your house. And they show up with a hammer, and that's it. And you say to them, everything's not a nail. He goes, to me it is. Well, what about the bathroom? What about the electric? Well, I don't do that. But yet, that individual said he was coming to work on your house. If he'd said, I'm a carpenter and I only do things that require a hammer, you're okay. But if you're looking for a contractor, you're looking for somebody that can deal with the whole of the house and the needs of the house. The same in any business. And once you've gone through that, then you start to look at the next step. And the next step is that you create a system to learn from your failure. It's going to happen. It always happens. It's a matter of time. But be prepared for it and be prepared to deal with it as it happens. And track your behavior, measure your results, and then go all the way back to number one and start all over again. What problem did you solve? Were you consistent in the way that you were solving the problem? Did you share your story? And were you specific about you do and how you said it? Those are the persuasive strategies that'll get you to yes. Look at it again. Take a screenshot if you like. What did you solve? What did you share? And what did they learn? And then you take that information and you identify your next target audience. But before you do that, you ask the current customer for a reference. Now, there's two reasons for doing this, and this is the secret sauce. When I ask a customer for a reference, if they're reluctant in any way, I may not have solved their problem. They may have thought I underperformed and overpromised. They may have thought that they overpaid. You stop dead in your tracks and you find out why they won't make a recommendation. Now, if the answer is as simple as it's a corporate policy, I always ask the next question, which is, if it was not corporate policy, would you be willing to write a reference or recommendation? And by the way, if you leave this company, is it possible that you as no longer being an employee of this company could write it. Leave it open-ended. Then if they leave, then if they move on somewhere else, you've got an opportunity to go back to them without trying to sell them. And you say, Mr. Customer, as you recall, you were unable to write the reference when you were working at company ABC. I was wondering if you'd feel comfortable writing it now. And by the way, where are you at? What do you do? Perhaps there's an opportunity for us to have a cup of coffee and talk about it. See, I'm not selling, I'm telling. So the before and after is you start off frustrated, and you've got to understand what triggers your obstacles before you can start to work on your customers' obstacles. And afterwards, you've got to remember to say yes to no. What do I mean by that? If you say yes to everything, you can't get it done. So you've got to learn how to say no to certain things that may not be in your core competencies, may not bring you enough revenue, may be inconvenient or not within the scope of where you're hoping to grow your business. Saying yes to no will help remove some of the frustration and help you grow your business. Remember, we can only remember 3 things, so get focused. Pick the 3 most critical things. Less is more, because we have a vitamin C deficiency. And here are my 3 critical issues for most businesses. They lack clarity, they lack confidence, and they lack control. If you can help them with their vitamin C deficiency and bring clarity to the problem, confidence to the solution, then you can control your destiny, because they will become what? Clients instead of customers. Notice they all have a C. And that's how you deal with vitamin deficiencies. And once you've dealt with the vitamin deficiency, you're able to come back and revisit what we've talked about, because it's more meaningful for you. When you went to the meeting, did you have an agenda that was focused and concise? When you went to the meeting, did you have a strong opening with a problem and a what's in it for them? Did you offer them a strong and comprehensive solution with an ROI for them, with an ROI for you? And did you have a long and short-term impact of the solution? Typically, problems are short-term, solutions are long-term. And if you are the solution, they may engage you for the long term to make sure that that solution is applicable over a longer period of time, over more departments, over more salespeople, over new product launches, etc. Spend more time trying to do more business with the companies you're already doing business with before you start looking for new customers. Think of it in terms of money. Don't assume what the customer wants. Ask them, then wow them. You may be surprised at the yes response. The yes response is always in terms of money. Saving money, making money, deploying assets, removing assets, it all can have a dollar sign in front of it. And again, listen with every breath you take. Social media is out there talking all the time. Listen to what it's saying. Don't reply to it, but perhaps look at a way that you could see what's going on in those conversations and become a solution to one of the companies or organizations that they're talking about. When I say always listen, it's because the customer may be talking. And I always say don't talk, because the customer may be listening. I have been in meetings where I have sat for 10, 15 minutes letting them talk. And the longer I remained silent, the more validity my comments held. Because I wasn't casually throwing them out there. I was listening, I was taking it all in, and I was waiting for them to ask me, as opposed to me pushing my way into the conversation. Try it. Don't talk. Customers may be listening. Listen. The customers may be talking. And when the customer is talking to you, that's when you respond. And in every single case, the single biggest thing you can do is stand out. From the sea of black umbrellas, I carry a yellow umbrella. If it was a sea of yellow umbrellas, I would carry a red umbrella. Stand out. Be different. Look, everybody can buy the same ingredients in a grocery store. But what's changed is not necessarily the ingredients in the grocery store, but the kitchen in which it's prepared. Because today, kitchen is all about experience. And I use this example to simplify things. Food is always going to be around. But you and I know that the younger people typically don't cook. And now the older people typically don't cook. So who's doing all the cooking, and why are all these expensive kitchens being made? Because the kitchen is a center place for the family to get together. If you ever watch Big Bang Theory, they're always ordering Chinese food. If you watch most TV shows, you will see them ordering out because it's indicative of the fact that people don't cook. And yet, the experience is often held in the kitchen. Same thing happens with business. Think about it. A gourmet kitchen doesn't make you a gourmet cook, but a gourmet kitchen may invite people in to share their recipes, to share their experiences. What do I mean, and how do I apply this? When you go to your next meeting, dress up. Casual Friday is not casual Monday through Thursday. I was recently at a very, very high level IT meeting. There were about 200 people there, and only 3 of us had on ties. And people were coming to us, asking us our opinion, asking us about things that they were eminently more capable of answering themselves. But the mere fact that we had on a tie showed them that we respected who they were, and we respected their time, and we were trying to stand out from the crowd. And as I said before, and I will say it again, focus on the customers you already have to get yes, and let them help you get the new customers. Ask yourself, how will you wow them and be different? What do your customers need? Why should customers buy from you and continue? At the end of the day, are you underservicing and overselling? Remember to wow them by asking what's in it for me. The what's in it for me is something I can now easily remember because I remember the sign for Wi-Fi. And I now use this in every presentation. Every time you see the Wi-Fi, think of connectivity, think of networking, thinking of sharing. And it becomes your WI to the power FM. Trouble spells opportunity. Listen, and you will find people that will say yes if you can help solve the problem. Listen and observe, because the marketplace looks differently from where the customer is. Listen and observe that lowering price does not ensure new profits. Listen and observe and bring big picture thinking to whatever you do. The image that you reflect is what they see. It's how they perceive you, and perhaps not how you really are. Think about the reflection of who you are when you look in the mirror. And remember, you provide solutions, not deliver products. You create value, not provide services. You engage your customers, not sell to them. In fact, I think you tell them before you sell them. And you are problem solvers who charge for your wisdom.